Today I'm here with me, myself, and I, and these 6 grow bags. And in these 6 grow bags, we're gonna grow Yukon Gold potatoes. So the first thing we need to do is go get our potatoes that have been inside the garage in a cold box for the last 2 weeks and make sure that they are ready to plant. So let's get going. So right here I have my potatoes, and they've been in the garage for 2 weeks growing these sprouts. I started with certified disease-free potatoes. You can use potatoes from the grocery store. I just used these because I got them online. I can certify that they are disease-free and they should work even better. So that's why I'm using them this year. And so I got them as full potatoes about 2 weeks ago, and I cut them up and I put them in this box till all of these little sprouts were started growing. So basically what I was doing is I was chitting them, which means to get them to start growing. So what I'm gonna do is put these in the ground, and then I want them to be facing up, about 4 to 5 inches deep. You can put them even deeper into the ground, and then you won't have to put hills of dirt around them later in the season. They could take a little bit longer, which would cause them to rot and mold, and you don't want them to do that when they're in the grow bag. So now that we have these ready, let's take them over to the grow bag. Real quick, I'm gonna weigh my potatoes so we can see how much produce we produce this summer. I am at 3 pounds and 11 ounces. So when I come back and pull these up in a few months, we'll see how much more potatoes we grew this summer and how much we were able to multiply the potatoes that we have, and if it was worth it again. So as they're planting, I'm gonna talk about what I put in my grow bags. I did have to use a lot of fertilizer last year, so this year I got some of this potato fertilizer from Gurneys when I ordered it, and I just mix it into this dirt all the way in. So I actually used this dirt last year, and because I used it last year, I've probably used up a lot of the nutrients, so I'm gonna add quite a bit of fertilizer to this because I'm using this dirt and starting all over again. But because it's been winter so long, we haven't been able to play in the dirt. So here I have a chance to mix it all in, and then I will join them and start planting more of these potatoes. Also, because the dirt's been sitting since the spring, I'm aerating this dirt by moving it around and loosening it up, which will make it even easier for the potatoes to grow again as I mix in more fertilizer and get it ready to plant potatoes for this year. So I've given each bag 2 giant handfuls of fertilizer to get these potatoes started. I just have these grow bags filled with raised garden bed dirt, which I really liked last year because it's nice and loose, so the potatoes have room to grow. I did some sweet potatoes and I used in-ground dirt without realizing it, and it became a lot firmer, and it was a little bit harder for those potatoes to grow. So I leave a little bit of room right here, and it's pretty easy. You're just gonna go find where the growth is, and you're gonna put them about 4 or 5 inches deep into the dirt, and you're gonna cover it up. These are potatoes that you'll have to put some mounds on them a little bit later in the season because I'm not putting them in too deep. And so I have these grow bags that I bought on Amazon. I'll put a link to them, but you can just cover them up like this. And I thought I could overcrowd it last year, but I really didn't have a problem overcrowding it. So I'm gonna put in as many as I can basically, and they didn't have any issues growing. And then I put them all the way around like this, and you put them in, make sure that the eyes are facing up. And then in a couple of weeks, they'll start to pop through. I still haven't reached my last frost date yet, but because they're underground, I'm not gonna have any issues. The dirt is warm enough that it's not gonna cause any problems. What I don't want it to do is to get too wet and cause some of the potatoes to rot. Then they won't produce. Last year I did russets and I did Yukon Gold, and I really liked the Yukon Gold better. They just produced so much. Plus Yukon Gold makes amazing mashed potatoes. So they're just a buttery, great, perfect little potato that I really enjoyed. So this year I'm doing all Yukon Gold potatoes in all 6 of these bags. Each of us has 7 potatoes for our bag, which leaves us plenty of room to put them around as we put it in. So like I said, these are Yukon Gold potatoes. They were actually created in Canada, which is one of the first potatoes marketed from Canada, which I read was kind of cool. And what we need to do is make sure that the eyes are facing up. So I'm able to put one kind of in the middle, and then I put the rest of them around the edge, and my soil is really soft right now. So there we go. And of course, people are mowing because it's becoming that time of year. So I have to make sure that my eyes are all facing up and that they're covered in here. The soil is a little bit moist, but it's not too bad. So I'm taking my big one right here and I'm gonna put it in the middle. Make sure that you cut them so that each piece has some eyes growing on it, because that'll get you more potatoes. And the more potatoes you can grow, the more you'll get out of what you paid for it. I think I paid like $15 for all of these. So that's like 3 bags of potatoes, 5-pound bags. So I'm gonna have to hopefully get, enough where I can cover that cost of 3 or 4 bags of potatoes, because the one bag I bought. I did put them on this wooden plank that I built last year, mostly to keep it off the ground so that when I water it, the water will come out the bottom and it won't pool in the bottom and it won't just soak up ground from the water, because I do get a little bit wet back here. But that way it's always drying out, so I don't have to worry about overwatering them. Also, potatoes don't require a ton of water. You can just kind of make sure they're not completely dried, and then they'll be fine. Because if they actually are overwatered, they rot and then they won't grow. I've had them in the garage for a couple weeks because I wanted them to dry out so I wouldn't put them in the ground and then they would rot. And I think they're perfect. And they all grew, none of them looked to be bad. They grew a little bit of a film on the part that I cut, but that's perfectly fine. And I get full sun right here. And in a couple of weeks, some of these green sprouts will start to grow. And last year picking them was just amazing because you really don't know what to expect because you can't see it. These don't have any of the visual holes around the side, which honestly I forgot I had on my other bags I used last year, so I didn't even use it. This year I'm using a little bit shorter bag, but they're a little bit wider, so I think that'll work even better because they actually didn't grow down that far. I just add more dirt to it and then they grow up. And they didn't really vine out. They were just kind of nice, really big plants, and it was really fun to watch them grow. So I'm super excited for this year. So as you can see, planting potatoes is really easy. You don't need to make it harder than it is. You could find tons of information, but they all basically say the same thing. Don't let them dry out, put them in the dirt. You don't really overwater them. The full sun really helped and they grew amazing. And these are Yukon Gold potatoes, which were my favorite to take camping and make mashed potatoes with. Also, I was told about a really cool potato masher that I bought last year off Amazon. And so I'll link it below, but it worked really cool, and you just push it through and it all comes out like a perfect smooth mashed potato. If you like chunks in your mashed potatoes, it won't work, but if you like perfectly smooth potatoes, it was awesome. So thanks for watching.